They've played 3.5 games in 9 days.
What do baseball players like? They like a rhythm and a routine. It's just part of your fabric of playing baseball. You go out there, you take batting practice, you play a game, and you go and do it again tomorrow night. And that has been a challenge, of course, because of the weather. But now you have a chance to hopefully string some games together.
You and I both enjoy interleague play. This is one of your former clubs,
Yes.
the Angels. Mike Trout is the biggest name in this sport, and he is not disappointed with his start this year after an MVP season in 2014.
Think about this. This kid's only 23. He's not going to be 24 until August, and already he is a guy that you come out here to watch, and he just does it in such a unique way because he has a combination of everything. How about that? Last year, unanimous MVP. The youngest player in history with 100 stolen bases and 100 home runs. Over 5 seasons now, he's thrown up some glorious numbers. Mike Trout, folks, if you want to see a player and you only have a couple opportunities to go out and watch somebody and you're looking at somebody, Mike Trout's your guy.
You know the irony? Last year, as a unanimous MVP, it was not his best year. I think his 2 previous seasons were actually better when he was the runner-up to Miguel Cabrera. He is that gifted. So it's the Rockies and Angels. Colorado trying to snap that 9-game losing streak. Come on back to the Big A in Anaheim with us. Nothing like Disneyland and nothing like interleague play. We begin interleague play, first of 20 between the Rockies and the American League, and they will see perhaps this young lady, and Mike Trout 4 times this year. 2 out here in Anaheim and 2 in Denver before the All-Star break. Welcome everybody to Angels Stadium. The Rockies and Angels, they'll play tonight and tomorrow night, and then the Rockies will head just north of here to Dodger Stadium, a 4-game set against Los Angeles. It's been a few years since the Rockies have been at the Big A. Mike Scioscia, the longest tenured manager in Big League Baseball. And last year they won 98 ball games, captured the American League West, only to get swept by the hot Kansas City Royals in the divisional round. This is a good ball club. It is pitching well, and we started to talk about Mike Trout, obviously, a moment ago. It is not hitting up to its standards, though.
No, and that includes Albert Pujols. Pujols is only hitting .230, and it goes on down the line. Mike Trout is the only regular they have in their lineup that's hitting above 300. That's something that the Angels really aren't accustomed to, because they've been built around not only their pitching, but also some offense, just not getting it early in the season now.
Every time I see this kid, I think NFL running back. He's a house. He's a big, big kid. C.J. Wilson's going to the mound. Let's take a look at the Rockies lineup. Charlie Blackmon will lead it off, and this being interleague play on the road for the Rockies. First time we will see a DH utilized this year. The lineup is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. So Wolf has made a couple of noticeable changes. Tulo's going to bat second. Cargo, after batting 6th quite a bit, trying to emerge from that slump. He had a meeting on Sunday late afternoon with Walt Weiss. They moved it back to that 3 spot. He thinks he's ready to come around. Nolan Arenado, Justin Morneau, Willeen will be the DH. Corey Dickerson will bat 7th. Nick Hundley's got the 12-game hitting streak 8th. And then DJ LeMahieu at 348 9th. On paper, man, that's a pretty formidable 9.
Well, and the other thing, too, is he has it the right, left, kind of all the way going down the lineup. Part of the reason why Carlos has slid up to the 3rd spot. For the Angels, they have C.J. Wilson on the hill. Recently came up with the Texas Rangers, 7th start of the season coming up. He had 6 earned runs back on April 12th. Since then, in his other 5 starts, just 6 earned runs total. The arsenal for C.J. Wilson, it is going to be a fastball. Just about 60% of the time, averages 90 miles an hour, which is the major league average. But his go-to pitch, the one he likes to keep you honest with, is a changeup. And that has been a better pitch for him this year than last year. He's also walking about half as many guys this year as compared to last year.
Well, he's like a handful of pitchers that have done this in the past. C.J. Wilson, when he came up with Texas, was a guy who worked out of the bullpen. In fact, he's closed 52 games in his career, 52 saves on his resume. Last 6 years, he's been a full-time starting pitcher, and he got rewarded with the big contract a few years ago by the Angels. And statistically, as Jeff broke it down, he's off to one of his best starts.
Well, and out on the road is probably even better than what he is at home. Out on the road, a 1.25 ERA, at home 4.42. But for C.J. Wilson, he's commanding both sides of the plate. It's not just, okay, I've got to worry about the outside. He'll also come into hitters to keep them honest.
So here we go. The Rockies look like they're going to get to play baseball every night. Though I did see, I can't believe there's rain in the forecast in L.A. later in the weekend. What is going on?
I saw that.
Yeah, that's amazing. First pitch of the ball game is a strike. 64 degrees our game time temperature, or basically about 27 degrees warmer than it was the last time the Rockies played baseball. Sunday, after everybody cleared off 6 inches of snow from the field or thereabouts, and the Rockies took on the Dodgers.
And not a cloud in the sky. There was some this morning when he got up. But by about noon, it was what you expect Southern California to be like.
0-2. Slider is blocked by the young catcher Carlos Perez. It's 1-2. So the Angels have pitched very well. They've won 4 of their last 6. This is game 8 of a 9-game homestand. They come into the ball game 15-17. 5 games behind Houston. They just finished a series, a 4-gamer with Houston. They split outside.
The first place.
They're the first place, Houston Astros. They're doing it with pitching and home runs because they have a lot of guys who hit home runs and are hitting below the Mendoza line. Chris Carter, Evan Gattis inside, 3-2.
Socha been here 15 years now.
In 7 of those 15 years, they've gone to the postseason. This is a comebacker. Wilson's got it. 1 out. Let's take a look at the defensive alignment for the Angels tonight. Matt Joyce, a former Tampa Bay Ray. Mike Trout's in center. Cole Calhoun is in left. David Freese, the one-time Cardinal. Eric Ibar's been around a long time now. Johnny Giavotella is at second base. Mark Krause was just brought to the big leagues by the Angels today, so he's making his Angels debut. He was with Houston last year. Carlos Perez is a young catcher, 1 week in the big leagues. So a lot of youngsters getting an opportunity. That's inside ball 1 on Tulowitzki. Troy at 307, but the on-base percentage is 317 because he's walked only a couple of times.
He's always hit well against left-handers. That's been a staple of his career. High slugging percentage.
And this year no different, 10 for 19 against lefties this year. Two balls and a strike. A quick start is so important on any night, now more so than ever because of how strong most bullpens are. This ball's tagged to left field. Moving over and making the play is Matt Joyce. 2 outs.
Caught that off the end ever so slightly.
Just a little bit, didn't
yeah.
he?
Because off the bat it looked like it was going to be a double in the gap. And if you're wondering about the air here as compared to LA, like right now in May, the ball travel about the same as it does when you play the Dodgers, but later on in the summer it will travel at night in Anaheim compared to just up the road.
It travels better in Orange County in the summer than it does at Chavez Ravine. Cargo hitting in the 3 spot for just the 2nd time this year. Now in his career, 789 ball games, he's hit there 54% of the time. This has been his primary spot. And that's a pretty good eye. 2-0. Pitch down on the Ford strike zone. Plenty of room in that right center field gap. And that misses, so it's 3-0. His takes are better, aren't they?
You can see it. They're not the jumpy takes where you're out on your front side. You're tracking the ball the whole way, and that tells you that he's seeing it quicker out of the hand.
There's the automatic 3-1. Cargo with outstanding numbers in interleague play. 317 lifetime with 17 home runs. And he was on that, fouled it straight back. So it's 3-2.
We mentioned the changeup for C.J. Wilson. When he gets a lefty and he's trying to strike him out, he'll go to his slider. That's his best pitch to a left-hander for the strikeout. And here it comes.
You got him on a slider, so C.J. Wilson a 1-2-3 first inning. We'll see Mike Trout and the Angels on offense when we come back. Anaheim, right next to Orange, California. There's Cole Calhoun. He's going to lead things off. He's got plenty of pop. He's hit 20 home runs out of the top spot in the lineup the last year plus. Here's the lineup for Mike Scioscia, brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Mike Trout will hit second. He's off to a 3:07 start. Then Albert Pujols, he had an 11-game hitting streak snapped on Saturday. David Freese, Eric Ibar, Johnny Vitello, Matt Joyce, Carlos Perez, and Mark Krause, who was just brought up to the big leagues. Well, Kyle Kendrick will make his 7th start, and you know his story. The first one was outstanding in Milwaukee, and it's been very difficult since then.
Yeah, his last 5, he's 0-4 with an 11 ERA. See if he stays away from the cutter. That's the pitch that has given him a lot of trouble. And if he stays away from that and goes more of a changeup, slider, and fastball mix tonight.
First pitch of the ball game is in there for a strike.
I referenced his arsenal a moment ago. I would look for less cutters tonight. I know he's throwing it 27% of the time, but tonight at maybe 10, 11%. Well, the Rockies going back to the shift with 2 strikes on Calhoun.
0-2. And that's way inside. Moved his feet. 1-2. And that's something pitchers will talk about. You know, we always talk about up and in, hitter arches back. A lot of times a pitcher likes to go down and actually make the batter so uncomfortable he's got to hop out of the way. They say moving his feet.
And that was the example, and now you can throw it away.
And he gets a strikeout. So nice job by Kyle Kendrick as he fans Cole Calhoun to begin the bottom of the first inning.
That was a split finger.
Yep. That'll bring up Mike Trout. And even though it's a modest crowd tonight, always a big round of applause. Well, he's only faced the Rockies in 3 ball games, and who could forget him, who were at Denver and watching Trout run around the bases and produce 8 hits and 14 at bats. He had a bunt single. He got up the line, Huey, from the right side in 3-7.
Yeah, I still want to see that one timed again because that's shocking numbers. 3-7 from the right side.
Amazing, isn't it?
I don't doubt that he did it. I'm just saying that it's so unusual to hear that. I mean, because that's Ricky Henderson.
Yeah, and what he did just there, he almost never did last year. He swung at the first pitch last year of an at-bat 11% of the time. He's doubled that basically this year. He's being more aggressive early in counts. Rockies put 3 on the left side for Trout.
Well, for Mike in his swing path, if he hits it to the right side, it's going to be in the air out to the outfield. He hits very, very few balls to that second base area. So no sense playing the second base from there. Go ahead and put 3 on the left side. And if he hits it on the ground, you're going to have a better chance. But you still better get rid of it because he gets up the line, as we talked about.
1-1. And that misses 2-1. One of the strongest men in baseball and one of the fastest men in baseball. I think Walt Weiss before the game said it best. He brings a physicality, a football physicality to the game.
I was down. We were down by the batting cage during the Angels batting practice today, and TV doesn't do him justice. You're talking about the size. He walked out of there, and I was like, whoa.
Well, it's the baggy uniforms that guys wear now. I mean, back in your day, you were trying to show off your abs, and everything was tight. You don't realize. I mean, this guy. Right. Look at the guy right there. He's 235 pounds.
I know.
You wouldn't know
legs
that.
As thick as tree trunks.
He's got the big, the huge shoulders, and he's a big, strong guy. This is in the air to right. Cargo near the line should have room, and he will. 2 outs, and that'll bring up Pujols. Let's take a look at the Rockies defensively. Dickerson, Blackman, and Gonzalez in the outfield. Arenado, Tulowitzki, LeMahieu, Morneau around the infield with Nick Hundley doing the catching. So Albert's batting average is down. He does have 5 home runs and 12 RBIs. He's battled a lot of leg injuries the last couple of years, but he still gets out there. And, you know, last year I think some people were expecting an enormous drop-off because 2013 was a tough year for Pujols, and he just put up big numbers again.
Still had over 100 RBIs.
And this ball to right, Cargo near the line will make this play, and it's a 1-2-3 start for Kyle Kendrick. So we'll go to the second. Nothing going on yet between the Rockies and Angels. Sports is brought to you by your hometown Toyota stores. Let's go places. And by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Pretty Southern California evening with Jeff Hewson. I'm Mark and Mark Stout. I almost said I'm Mark Stout. Well, Mark's down there somewhere. Sometimes I forget who I am. Orange County native Nolan Arenado will step up against C.J. Wilson. Chatting with Nolan about the Angels and the Big A, and he grew up literally about less than 15 minutes from here. And I said, have you ever played on this field? He said, I had a private workout with the Angels, as did Tyler Chatwood, coming out of high school, because they were both thought to be high draft picks, which they were. And he said, the only other time I was on the field was when I was little and I got to run around the bases one Sunday.
Pretty neat story growing up, though, to be able to come run around the Big A.
Absolutely. In Rockies, a lot of kids who go to Rockies games, they do that on a regular basis, get to, after the game, run around the bases. Sure. Pretty cool.
Also, sure, he thought about the, so we see Tyler Chatwood on the trip. But the Big A, they used to light it up at night if the Angels won. And so you driving by the stadium, you could see what happened that night, even if you weren't able to attend. And when they win, they light it up. When they lose, it stays dark.
They still do that.
Yeah. The Big A.
3-2 on Nolan. Morneau on deck. And that's on the ground to third. David Freese throws it across. 1 out. I was talking to Justin about facing C.J. Wilson because he's faced him more than anybody else all the time with the Minnesota Twins. And he smiled. He goes, yeah, did you see my numbers? And his numbers are not good, 2 for 17. But there are some guys where you don't feel uncomfortable against them. The numbers just aren't good. And he said he has really good late movement. You think you're on him, and the ball moves just enough that you don't make the solid contact you're attempting to have.
Well, and that's why since the start of 2010, he's one of the best left-handed starting pitchers going. He's fifth at 75 and 44. Number one on the list is a guy that Rockies have to face. It seems like every fifth day is Clayton Kershaw.
This is going to be lobbed into left field for a base hit. So Morneau with a one-out single, first base runner of the ball game.
And during that time, Kershaw's 86 and 38.
And there have been a number of articles written. LA Times had one the other day. What is the matter with Clayton Kershaw? He hasn't thrown a no-hitter yet, and his ERA is in, point something.
He's been denied his 100th win 4 straight times now.
So here's Willeen. He does significant damage against left-handed pitching. It's his 5th career game as a DH, and in the first 4 he's done damage.
Well, he'll get a chance not only tonight but tomorrow night, probably the DH. Another left-hander going for the Angels tomorrow. Victor Santiago.
And Santiago's been pitching well also. On Sunday, Garrett Richards beat the Astros 3-1. He had no hitter into the 7th inning. This ball is clubbed to deep left down the line, and the catch is made by Joyce. He reached into the crowd and made the catch. 2 outs.
There used to not be padding on the wall along the foul lines. It was just straight concrete. This helps break this jump, because see how the ribs go into that padding. As he leaps, he has his eye on the ball, catches it, and then the lower rib cage takes a whack.
Especially because his elbow was, and he's feeling it right now. His arm was kind of pinned in between. So Corey Dickerson at the plate. Corey a .302 average, 5 home runs, 15 RBIs. 6 of the 9 guys in the lineup tonight for the Rockies hitting better out on the road than they are at home. Rockies fans, you can join the conversation. Send us your thoughts, photos via Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. Use the hashtag Toyota Talk, and we'll show some of your Toyota Talk comments throughout the evening. Well, here's Corey Dickerson with his baby boy at Disneyland. We did Disneyland yesterday. My youngest son Gabe with me the first part of the trip.
So you brought Gabe, but not the birthday boy Jacob.
It is thank you. It is Jacob's birthday, 17th today. No, he has something called finals. But I took a picture. I took a picture of Gabe at Disneyland, and I texted it back home to Chris and the boys, and I said, "Studying hard once again." And Jacob was the first to reply, one word.
I'm sure.
Rough. That's a swing and a miss. Corey Dickerson with a tough at bat against C.J. Wilson. So Morneau singles. He's left at first. Middle of 2, no score. Jeff Houston was talking about.
Not want it lit up.
You can see that from miles away, and then you get up on it, and you're like, wow, that thing is really, it is big. See it from the 5.
The 5, not just I-5, the 5.
Yep, from the 5.
That's California lingo.
That's California. You're taking the 10, you can take the 5 to take the 4-5 to the 10, and then take it to 110 to Dodger Stadium.
Yes.
David Freese, MVP of the 2011 World Series, then competing for the Cardinals, takes strike 1. Good first inning for Kyle Kendrick, a strikeout and a couple of fly balls to right field off the bat of Mike Trout and Albert Pujols. And this in the direction of right, but it's going to slide into the stands, foul. The Angels have struggled to score this year, and you think about how they performed last year in winning close to 100 games. They average almost 5 runs a game, which was tops in the American League a year ago, and this year they're second from last.
Also look at just the slugging percentage between this year and last year. They're slugging over 400, this year below 300. And if it wasn't for Mike Trout's 9 home runs, that number would be even lower.
If you're wondering about the former Rocky Chris Iannetta, he's lost some playing time to the kid Carlos Perez because Chris is hitting around 100 right now.
With a lot of strikeouts.
2-2 on Freese. And that's low. 3-2.
See ya.
Strike 3 on the outside corner. So Kendrick painted there, and he has himself his second strikeout.
Well, fans, get ready for the first fireworks show of the season on Friday, May 22nd, and sponsored by Lockheed Martin. All receive a handheld U.S. flag. Tickets are going quickly, so get yours today at any Rockies ticket outlet, including Rockies.com. Friday, May 22nd. Fireworks. Gotta watch Ibar. He will bunt.
He's not your prototypical 5-hole hitter.
No, but it speaks to the Angels' lack of offense. This is where they were hoping they would have a Josh Hamilton, if not maybe hitting in the 4-hole. Fastballs early on for Kendrick. Reestablishing the fastball command. The one strikeout that he did have back with Calhoun, that was on the split finger. And his last one, Freese, was a 2-seamer.
That ball toward the gap in right center, and Charlie thought he may have a play and then backed off, and Cargo will fire it in. So it's a double with 1 out for Eric Ibar.
I think Charlie got a real good read on this ball. 3rd double of the season for Ibar. Wanted it down and away, came back down and in. Charlie's going across and then has to go back to pick this up, but it was more of a straight across angle instead of the circling behind it.
So this is Johnny Giovitella. New Orleans native, and he played his college baseball at UNO. couple of good programs down there in New Orleans. Tulane's always had a great program.
And just down the road, LSU. Boy, there's just Nicholls State down there in Louisiana.
Well, his play, one of the reasons that Josh Rutledge, who was traded to the Angels to be their second baseman, has been playing in Sacramento.
So Johnny has a quick, short stroke. He might not have the occasional power that Josh had, but more of a line drive will spray the ball over the ballpark type of swing.
To third, tough pickup for Nolan, and he stays with it. Great play by Arenado. He had to come get that on the backhand side, and he got a guy who can run despite bobbling for a moment.
But he has the equalizer and a strong right arm. I don't know how many times we've seen a ball go in Nolan's glove where it comes out, because it's like Velcro when it hits that glove. Pops out, but one hop, and then just the howitzer across the diamond to get Johnny 5-3.
Let me correct something. By the way, I said Sacramento. Salt Lake is the AAA affiliate of.
Well, either way, Johnny beat him out for the job, whether it's Sacramento or Salt Lake.
2 outs, and that'll bring up Matt Joyce. Joyce, a December trade with Tampa. That's why he's here in Angel Stadium right now. Jerry DiPoto, the general manager, former Rocky pitcher.
Scott Service, the assistant GM, former Rockies catcher. And these are assistant GM, scouting, player development.
And Joyce is in a horrendous slump. He's 6 for his last 63.
Well, just 13 for 93 overall. So even before that, the numbers that you said, the other one weren't that good either.
No. Outside. Out in front of the off speed. Rockies do put a shift on with Joyce. Again, the Rockies now moved up to 9th in baseball in shifting. Ibar at second, a 1-out double. They're 2 outs now.
I don't think about the shifts. There's only been 1 or 2 times where you said, wow, if that wasn't on, that they would have had that guy. But for the most part, when they've been shifting, it's worked out to their advantage.
And the statistics have backed that up. The data that the Rockies have after every ball game, it's been in the neighborhood of a 20-plus point delta last time I took a look at the numbers. So it has worked out. More and more teams are doing that. 3-2 right now on Joyce. Kendrick taking his time, staring in at Nick Hundley.
Nick had flashed the fastball, then he asked for the split finger. But whatever it is, Kyle, throw it with conviction. Might want to just go out and talk it over. Yeah, that's what they're going to do.
That may be one, and obviously Tulowitzki wants to know what pitch is being thrown. He's staying out there and say maybe one like where you verbally say, hey, this is what we're going to do here. We're going to throw a two-seamer away.
Yeah, but I also like the catcher to then flash the sign again so the infielders know what pitch is coming.
That's why I mentioned Tulowitzki needs to know.
I hated that when a catcher would just go back there and, okay, throw it to me. Well, what's coming? I don't know.
Just lost a half a step.
Yeah, I want to be able to lean in a certain direction.
Here's the 3-2. And that's in the air to shallow left. Dickerson closing quickly, and he'll make the catch. Good jump by Corey Dickerson. That'll end the second inning as Ibar doubled, but he's left at second base. We'll go to the third. No score in Anaheim. Rockies and Angels interleague play.
And we want to tell you a little bit about this facility that goes back to 1966. In fact, the Angels changed the name of the team to the California Angels in September of '65 during the season because they were going to move in to this facility. $24 million is what it cost back in '66. They renovated it in the mid-'90s. It has had 3 All-Star games here, and it is familiar to baseball fans. It's the second oldest park in the American League. And a guy that it's definitely familiar to is our own Jeff Houston, because Huey played for the Angels in 1999. Now, Jeff, I want to show you a stat after this pitch, which is fouled off, because this proves that you enjoyed it here. You had your highest batting average at the Big A in 99 when you hit over 300. This is minimum 30-some games, so you enjoyed playing here.
I did. It was a fun park to come to every night. Obviously, the weather's pretty good, but you could also the playing surface was nice. I don't know why they didn't re-sign me after that year. Then
well, they had a general manager change around then.
Well, and a manager change, and so all of that factored into me then leaving and going and signing with Chicago.
Jeff, you had an 8-game hitting streak in August. Do you remember that?
Yes, I have very few of those, so yeah, I remember it.
You don't have to be self-deprecating.
No, I'm just saying it.
When you were given your opportunity, you performed. You did in Texas. You hit 260. You hit half your career home runs that year when they let you play.
That's right.
They didn't let you play.
No.
You needed me as an agent.
Thank you.
Come on.
Where were you early in my career?
I don't know where I was.
Tell everybody about your first game here, too, when you debuted.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll get it right after this pitch here.
This is back up the middle. Diving stop, and Hundley is going to beat it. And he's got himself a 13-game hitting streak. Nice attempt by Giovitella.
All right, good for Nick to get this out of the way. Keep that hitting streak alive. Talking about hitting streak, T.J. Wilson tried to use a kick save. Couldn't get it. Johnny knocks it down, but Nick getting down the line. That was a good piece of hitting from Nick, and Way to get that hit streak out of the way and continue it.
And a leadoff man aboard with another guy that has swung the bat very well. Obviously, DJ LeMahieu at 348.
So real quick to finish the story. So in '99, the very first home game we have, Mo Vaughn, they just signed him to a big contract. So he goes over for a foul ball along the first base dugout. They didn't have any fencing up. He catches the ball and then falls into the dugout, sprains his ankle. He has to come out and then went on the DL. I went in and replaced him on opening night at first base.
First game as an Angel?
First game as an Angel.
And that was where you had the least experience.
Right, but they didn't have the fencing up. So we go on the road. Guess what was up when we came back off the road trip?
Fencing.
Of
course,
a little too late.
Yeah, of course, had you fallen into the dugout,
they would fine.
They wouldn't have made it. They wouldn't have made the change.
It would have been okay. But Big Mo, when he fell in there and sprained his ankle, went on the DL. They needed to make that change.
2 balls and a strike on LeMahieu. Yeah, this would be a tough office to come to every day. I can see why you liked it.
I played in the old ballpark before. I shouldn't say old ballpark, before they renovated it.
Yep. Do you know when they were an expansion team in '61, won 70 games? Mark was talking about their history. Fouled off. The second year, they were in the mid-80s in victories.
You used to have Frank Tanana, Nolan.
Well, you think about, and Don Baylor, our old friend, is their hitting coach still. They had Baylor, Carew, Reggie, and Freddie Lynn. Good history here with the Angels. Of course, they won it all in 2002.
Was that the year of the Rally Monkey?
The Rally Monkey. They won 86 and 76 in 1962. The Mets' first year, and they did not go 86 and 76. They went 40 and 120. Way inside, ball 4. Now the Rockies really have something cooking. 2 on, nobody out. C.J. Wilson wants to visit with the young catcher Carlos Perez. Who wants tacos? If the Rockies score 7 or more runs, go to participating Colorado Taco Bell locations the next day. Do it between 4 and 6. Get your Rockies taco special. Liv Moss at Taco Bell.
For C.J. Wilson in his last start against Seattle, he did not have a walk. And that was only the 5th time in his career that he hadn't had at least one walk in a ball game.
Well, the opposition is hitting just .215 against CJ this year. In his career, they've hit .240 against him. .240's, obviously, you're getting the job done. The league hitting just .240 against you, but gives you an idea how good he's been. I love this play by Blackman.
Smart play.
Really smart play, and he was about a foot away from loading the bases. He took the bunt with him. Wilson's athletic. He got off the mound. It'll work as a sacrifice. I always come back to what Ryan Spilborg says on a regular basis. You know this to be true. A lot of bad things can happen when you come up with first and second, and you're trying to move the 2 runners along. Bunt's not a bad play for a lot of players.
Well, and for Charlie, he brings it with him, and you talked about it, Drew. We'll freeze it as soon as C.J. Wilson gets to this ball right here. If that's just 6 inches away from his glove and he's not able to reach it, I guarantee it, Johnny, the second baseman, is not going to catch him and flip it to get the out. But now you have Troy up there. The infield's going to be playing back. You have a chance to get a run here early in the game.
Troy tried to hold up. He did not. On the swing, says Jerry Davis. Jerry's a crew chief. We have a veteran group. Phil Cuzzy's at first base. Tony Randazzo is at second, and Brian Gorman at third. Tulo has not had an RBI since April the 28th. The Rockies haven't had a win in 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks ago today when the Rockies started that series down in Phoenix and won game 1 against Arizona and then lost the next 2. Then they got swept in San Diego.
And these are the at-bats. It's been the difference between what happened in April and then the first 8 or 9 games of May.
Get it in play. That's deep enough. Center field Trout. At third base tagging is Hundley. And Nick will come down the line. Tagging him for moving his second and third is DJ. And the Rockies take a 1-0 lead. Good job by Tulowitzki behind 2 strikes in the count to lift the scoring fly ball. So he has his 11th RBI. And the Rockies have an early lead, which is so important, particularly when you've lost 9 in a row.
That was a team run. You had the leadoff single from Nick, the walk from DJ, the sacrifice to get him into scoring position, the little things. Then Troy lifts the fly ball. But you also had DJ move up to third on the fly ball to center field, so they'll put pressure on the catcher if they ask for a breaking pitch to block it. Otherwise, he will score.
Cargo struck out on a 3-2 slider his first time. And a shattered bat and a roller right up the middle that's fielded by the shortstop Ibar, who is positioned there to throw out Cargo and end the inning. But the Rockies get a run. Nick Hundley ends up coming around on the sac fly by Tulowitzki. We'd like to welcome all of our Baja Broadband TV viewers from St. George, Utah. Thanks for watching the Rockies on Root Sports. Be sure to tell us where you're watching from on Twitter at RootSports_RM. Use the hashtag WhereWeRoot. Well, when the Rockies score first this year, they're 8-3. And I think there's more emphasis on scoring first. We were talking to Mike Scioscia before the ball game about this very topic because bullpens are so good. And it's not just, the ninth inning guy. Covered that topic many times. So you score first. It's amazing how much better your record is.
Talk about those arms. That's why offense is down in baseball, in my mind, is you get power arms coming out from the 6th inning on.
At the knees on the corner to Carlos Perez, it's 1-1. Hops up there. Oh, what a debut for Carlos Perez 1 week ago, Tuesday, against Seattle. This was a walk-off home run for Carlos Perez. In his first at bat, he had a single. That was his first big league at bat. So, first day in the big leagues.
Nothing to it.
Yeah. Rockies put the shift on. Tulowitzki from deep in the hole throws out Perez. So only 3 other players have done that, including the last guy, pretty good name, Miguel Cabrera, when he came up with the Marlins, hit a walk-off in his debut. And there's another guy on that list who we all know well, our friend Josh Bard out of Cherry Creek High School, who had a real good big league career. He's now working in the Dodgers organization.
But 2 Angels have done it. Another Angel, Billy Parker.
Back in '71. So here's Mark Krause. Krause had heated up with Salt Lake and was called to the big leagues. Ryan Matthews was let go this morning by the Angels out of their bullpen. And if that name sounds familiar, well, it should for Rockies fans. He came up in the Rockies organization and then moved on to Washington. Had some success with the Nationals, but he was designated today, and they didn't add a guy in the bullpen. They added this young man, Krause.
They're trying to find offense. Krause has been up with Houston before, has a little over a year big league service time. Last year, the end of September was his last game. So he's been down in Salt Lake City, their AAA franchise.
He's a Bobcat. He went to Ohio University. Well, we always talk about kids who grow up in Texas. They're obligated to play football, it seems like, if you grow up in Texas. Well, if you grow up in Ohio, you're almost in the same boat. And he was a 3-time All-State wide receiver.
I was
in
thinking
Ohio.
tight end.
Well, you look at the body now, and I can't believe he was a wide receiver because he goes about 235. But back in high school, he had look at that. That's off of Kendrick. He seems to be okay. Redirected to Tulowitzki. It'll be 163, and maybe he got leather on it.
That's what he got.
He looks fine.
Off the glove. Because if he doesn't slow this down or knock it down, reduce the speed, whatever you want to say, Troy's not going to get it no matter where he was positioned, because it was hit hard. You can smile about it now, but when it's coming back at you, you're not too happy, and it went off the outside portion of the glove.
Two outs, nobody on. Cole Calhoun struck out his first time up. Calhoun's at Arizona State, and this is in the air to center field, and it's going to drop in front of Charlie Blackmon, a base hit. Second base hit for the Angels. And that'll allow Trout to hit here in the third. Trout hit a fly ball right down the right field line that Cargo gathered in. The Jersey kid, Mike Trout. And he takes a strike.
Oh. Tried to get out of the way, just clipped him.
So now 2 on for Pujols.
Two-seamer got away, left it out behind that. Oh, off the left elbow. There's no elbow pad or any sort of the protection that a lot of hitters will take up there for Mike Trout.
Albert last year hit 28 home runs. The reason I mentioned that, on 12 occasions he's hit 30 home runs or more in a season. He has 525 home runs in his career. The only guys to have more 30 home run seasons: Henry Aaron, the great Hammerin' Hank, with 15, A-Rod with 14, Bonds 14, Schmidt 13, Babe Ruth 13. Well,
pretty big list that you're.
Not only is he should be a unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer. We know it won't be unanimous because nobody's ever unanimous, but he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He has more than 500 doubles. He has over 1,600 ribbies. He has a slugging percentage of .585, which since World War II is the 4th best. You could easily make a case that this is the best right-handed hitter in history.
But he also has a good eye. 525 home runs, 18. Jimmy Fox is 17th on the list. He's just a few behind him.
The one I love, 1,100 plus extra base hits. And there wasn't a breaking in period. Just like Trout, he dominated from Jump Street.
2001, 161 games. He had 329, 37 home runs, 130 RBIs. His first year.
One and two on Pujols. And a ground ball toward Tulo. Excuse me, DJ. Boy, with the shifting all the time, got to double check. So LeMahieu throws out Pujols. Good pitching by Kendrick so far. 1-0 Colorado. Minnesota.
He's kind of the face of the franchise. I know Joe Mauer's there, but Molly's just kind of grown up in a Twins uniform. So for the Twins to have him, and I think it's a perfect fit. Talk about a right-handed hitter that can hit. Now, he didn't have the power that Pujols had.
Great hitter. Great hands. Arenado pops it up, and Giovotella makes the catch. 1 out. With every challenge call, a Subaru eyesight review will determine the outcome of love. It's what makes a Subaru. 1 out, and Justin Morneau will take his turn.
C.J. Wilson, 10 for 13, first pitch strikes.
Morneau has one of the 2 hits for the Rockies. He hit a soft single to left with 1 out in the second, was stranded at first. And that's another shot to left field, and this may be an opportunity for 2, and Morneau is in standing up. Hit it off the end of the bat, But Morneau came in 2 for 17 against C.J. Wilson. He's getting back at him.
All he says is, I'm 2 for 2 tonight. You can be 2 for 17 prior, but tonight I got a couple knocks. 7th double of the season for Justin. Off the end of the bat, they're playing way off the line is David Freese. Even with the leap, he wasn't going to catch that. It was too far away, and also slicing away from everybody.
So the Rockies have a chance to tack on another with 1 out. Willeen Rosario at the plate. Willeen hit a high fly ball down the left field line that Matt Joyce literally went into the first row of the stands to catch. On a base hit, you always like to, your third base coach, be aware of what kind of outfield arms you're dealing with.
And where they're positioned prior to the pitch being thrown. They're pretty deep and shaded more towards right center field. Especially for Mike Trout. He's taking away that gap. A lot of room in left center and then down the left field line.
Strike on Willeen. That ball sharply hit, but it's caught by Ibar. 2 outs.
For the Angels, what Stu Cole wants to know is, let's talk about these arms. Matt Joyce in left field, below average as far as the strength and accuracy. Mike Trout up the middle. Yeah, he's got a strong arm accuracy, but compared to everybody else, it's just average. Cole Calhoun, the guy in right field, he has the cannon. He will just show it off. He likes to show it off, and he's very accurate with it. So if it's hit hard to Calhoun, Justin better get a good jump out at second base if you're going to wave him home.
Here's Corey. And Dickerson takes the ball. With Mike Trout, talking about the 5 tools, the one tool that isn't a 70 for him, because he's a 70 runner at least, he's got 75 power. The point being is his throwing arm. It is average.
Right, it's a 50. But he will get to other balls in the gap that other guys don't get to, so his range factor goes up.
And we know he'll go over the wall.
And he will jump and rob you of a home run.
Two 2-0 on Dickerson. And he drives this ball to right. This will get down and score the run to the corner. Calhoun will have to get it out of the corner, and a double to make it 2-0 from Corey Dickerson. Well, he got a 2-0 count to work with, and he got the bat head out.
Corey is 7 for 12 with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. I'll take him up to 16 RBIs. Also take the Rockies up to second in the National League with doubles with 66. Stays on the slider. Leg kick, but takes that top hand. Once he makes contact, takes the top hand off the bat to create a little more length and drive it to the gap, or drive it down the line, excuse me.
Now here's Hundley, who singled his first time, and that ball gets away from Perez. Moving to third is Dickerson on the pass ball. Nick with the single in the second, has a 13-game hitting streak, and that was just
That's
boxed.
just a whiff.
Yeah. You don't want anybody when they're playing defense to have a lapse in focus. But Jeff, I'm sure it happened to you. It happens to everybody when you're out in the field. You're like, boy, I wasn't, as prepared as
it's human nature.
Yeah, human nature on that pitch. You all of a sudden caught yourself flat-footed, maybe.
Yes.
Well, catcher cannot have that, and that just happened to Perez. Boom, it's pass ball, and the guy moved up 90 feet. There's a cutter in, 1-2.
And especially for a young catcher, catching a veteran pitcher like a C.J. Wilson. It's a hard enough game. You're 8 days into your big league season. You're worried about everything under the sun.
On the swing. So C.J. Wilson strikes out Nick Hundley, but Morneau scores on the double by Corey Dickerson, and the Rockies have a 2-0 lead, middle of 4 in Anaheim. On Root Sports is brought to you by the Ford Fusion. Power you on, and good looks too. Ford, go further. By Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by CenturyLink, your link to what's next. Rockies have a 2-0 lead. Drew Goodman, Jeff Houston, Mark Stout from the Big A. We go to the bottom of the fourth inning. David Freese, Eric Ibar, and Johnny Giavotella. The Angels are 8-9 at home through 17 ball games at the Big A. Last year, they had a Major League best 52-29 record at home. Freese struck out looking on a 3-2 pitch. He takes ball one. That's off the plate. Kendrick's allowed a couple hits, and he's hit a batter. He struck out a pair, and that misses. That's first 3-0 count of the night. Well, after what Walt Weiss and Steve Foster have witnessed this year, if they don't see a 3-0 count for about another 2 weeks, they'd be good with that.
Maybe a month.
10 walks on Sunday.
Well, it's a lot of it's been from the starting staff. 80 walks by the starters. That's most in the major leagues.
On one hop to DJ, wasn't hit that hard, and he throws out David Freese.
Fans, if you don't already receive Hot Rocks emails, you're missing out on the best ticket deals around. The only way to receive the emails is to become a Rockies registered user. Go to Rockies.com and register today. Hot Rocks emails.
So here's Ibar. He had a double his first time. He shows bunt, takes a strike. Nolan
it
backs
did,
up
I'm laughing
one
because
step.
it didn't do anything to Nolan. He's like,
No.
okay, go ahead. You want to try to bunt? Fine. You're going to be out.
Again, Ibar's a guy you'd see in the first spot or two of a lineup, conventional lineup. You see more power guys hitting second. Tulowitzki for the Rockies tonight. Trout for the Angels.
Or hitting eighth or ninth.
Or hitting eighth or ninth, but not in the 5 spot. But the Angels been offensively challenged. Mike Scioscia trying to shake up things a little bit, and that's going to drop in front of Dickerson. A 1-out base hit for Ibar. It was 2 for 2.
Second baseman, number 12,
Johnny Giavotella.
The Rock Cats, 11 straight games.
They are on some kind of tear. Rockies' first year as New Britain with their AA affiliate playing in the Eastern League, and that club has been outstanding.
Trevor Story is having quite a season.
Story's been good. Tommy Murphy's been good. A lot of guys have been good. When you won 11 straight and
True.
you're dominating the way they have, there's a lot of good stories, including Johan Flande. You know, he's 29, but Johan's unbeaten. That's a strike on the outside corner.
The Angels are not much of a running team. Mike Trout has 7 stolen bases. He's been caught 1 time. The rest of the team only 4.
And that's going to sneak through a base hit. And Ibar's going to go first to third. Giavotella with the hit, 1 out, and that'll bring up the struggling Matt Joyce.
It was just a good piece of hitting for Giavotella. Split finger out of the hand, but didn't dive enough. Stayed at the knees. Johnny hit it right back up the middle.
Joyce, a career .250 hitter coming into the season. But he's below 140 right now. Slowly hit. I don't know if it was hit hard enough. It's not.
You could hear him break his back.
Yep. So Joyce will get a run home for the Angels with that ground out. Ibar scores. It's 2-1. 8th RBI for Joyce.
It was such a good pitch from Kyle. It just jammed him so bad, broke his bat, and barely rolled it out to second.
Carlos Perez. And that's a base hit. Here comes Blackman around third. Giavotella, the throw to the plate, not going to get him, and that ties up the baseball game. But Carlos Perez continues to impress in his opening week in the big leagues. It's his 4th RBI. A 2-out clean single to center.
Just 2 RBIs more than Chris Iannetta had for the whole season. 2 pitches in this inning have not been in the location that Kyle had wanted them. One was a split finger to Giabatella that he hit up the middle, and that was a fastball that was left up.
Mark Krause hit a line drive off the glove of Kendrick that went to Tulowitzki, and he got the out at first. This is a high fly ball to Blackman in left center. Charlie's got it to end the inning, but the Angels get even. A couple of runs on 3 singles, and it's 2-2 as we go to the 5th. LeMahieu will lead off for Colorado. Rockies and Angels as we go to the top of the 5th inning. Drew Goodman, Jeff Houston, Mark Stout on a pretty Southern California evening.
It's one of our favorite places to go was Huntington Beach.
When you were playing
when
out
I was
here?
playing out here. It's only about, well, if there's no traffic now.
You always qualify that.
It was about 20 minutes.
Cole, I may go tomorrow morning. Cole Calhoun, DJ LeMahieu against C.J. Wilson. Cole Calhoun will lead off next inning for the Angels. DJ walked and reached 3rd in his first at bat. He fouls this pitch off. Well, the Angels have scored a couple of runs for Wilson, and he must be saying, oh my goodness, I can't stand this prosperity.
So they have 2 guys in the top 5 that get the lowest amount of run support. C.J. Wilson, less than 1.8 runs per game. But then look at Jared Weaver. He's on that list. It's just a little over 2. So I guess 2's the magic number for the Angels.
To 3rd, David Freese.
You can vote now for your Rockies All-Stars on your computer, tablet, or smartphone on the 2015 Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot exclusively at Rockies.com. Vote early and often, but make sure you vote.
Charlie 0 for 1, and he had a sac bunt. Really brought the bunt with him and got it past C.J. Wilson in the 3rd inning. Rockies would score their first run on a Tulowitzki fly ball. 2 doubles in the 4th inning. Got the 2nd run home. Morneau and Dickerson.
C.J. Wilson, born in California, went to Loyola Marymount, living just down the road. I mean, he's just a California guy through and through.
Well, they went a couple years where they dominated the hot stove league. Signing of Albert Pujols, the signing of C.J. Wilson, the signing of Josh Hamilton, who's now, as everybody knows, back in Texas.
Well, Artie Moreno came in. So this is the way I want to do it.
Two and two.
And changed the name a couple times.
This is a broken bat, fly ball to shallow right. Calhoun laid out and made the catch. Wow.
The only thing missing from this dive is maybe a cape on the back, because this was Superman when he lays out for this ball. Look how high he is above the ground when he takes off for this ball. I thought it was going to drop in, and then he goes parallel. Look at that. The hardest part when you catch a ball after diving is to secure it. And where he caught it, it's a tough place to secure the ball. If it's out on the webbing, it's easier, and it'll stick when that ball hits the ground and your wrist is tight.
Yeah, he caught that in the very, very bottom of the palm. 2 outs to Tulowitzki. Fly ball to left and a scoring fly ball to center.
Just watch where he is when he takes off before he catches this ball. Look at this. I mean, he's a good 2-3 feet off the ground. And then still have the strength when he catches it in the palm for it not to pop out.
Yeah, he stuck it, didn't he? 2-0 on Tulowitzki. Rockies got the first 2 runs. The Angels caught them last inning, so it's 2-2 here in the 5th. Calhoun will have a much easier play here, and it's a 1-2-3 5th inning for C.J. Wilson. 2-2.
Second this half inning for the Angels, and he's about to join an exclusive club in the American League. Let's get you the Colorado Hyundai League leaders. He is 1 run scored away from 400, and when you're talking about players under the age of 24, look at that list of names. You've got Cobb on there, Fox, DiMaggio, Mickey, Ted, A-Rod, Jr., I mean, all the names you know, except you probably don't know Bobby Lewis. So I did some research on Buddy Lewis. I'm sorry, Buddy Lewis went to Wake Forest. I haven't contacted Corey Sullivan, who went to Wake Forest. And Buddy played back in the late 30s. He was with the Washington Nationals, and then he had to go to World War II. Guys, he flew 368 missions in Burma, and he flew the C-47, the transport plane. They said he could land that on a landing strip that was built for a mosquito. He was that good as this is ripped down the line.
Yeah, Cole Calhoun, after making that sensational catch, is going to begin the 5th inning with a stand-up double. Now you're in the thick part of that Angels lineup. Trout with Pujols coming next in a 2-2 game.
Well, for Kyle, the first time through the lineup, you guys are just 1 for 9 off him. And the second time, 4 for 8. Cole Calhoun has some power. That was an uphill swing. Got on top of it, over rotated the top hand to get the line drive to right field.
It's also the first leadoff man for the Angels to reach in the game. Trout takes a strike. Trout a fly ball to right field, and he was hit on the elbow by a 2-seam fastball. Ball, 1 strike on Trout. Yeah, some purists may not like interleague play. I like it because you get to see guys that you know, obviously you can see virtually any game you want these days, but to see guys like Trout, and we used to see Pujols a lot, but play against your team. You get to watch them over several days. That just missed.
There was guys that were watching him take batting practice because they've heard about it and they see the highlights and just talking about his swing. What does it look like? Because players appreciate other great players.
Well, you have to. I mean, you're a fan of the game.
And that's why they like interleague for that reason.
Remember I mentioned earlier, Trout was the unanimous MVP last year. In the raw numbers, he had 36 home runs, 111 driven in, a 287 batting average. He scored 115 runs. He's led the league in runs scored each of the last 3 years. But I also said of the last 3 years may have been his poorest. This is a fly ball to Carr going right. Now Calhoun's going to tag, but there's no way he was going to go.
The bluff.
Yeah, that's all that was. But the 2 previous years, he hit for a much higher average, almost 50 points higher, 323, 326. The home runs somewhat similar. The RBIs were down a little bit, but the stolen bases were up. Last year he stole only 16. Stole 33 in 2013. He stole 49 in 2012, and he's running a lot more this year.
He has 7 for 8 in stolen bases, but there's also a guy in Detroit named Miguel Cabrera that was winning a Triple Crown. So you have that, Triple Crown or everything that Trout's doing. It was a hard choice.
And that's it was a great conversation then, and it is still a good conversation, because when would you ever imagine a guy who would be a candidate or win, in this case, a Triple Crown, not just saying, well, he's the MVP. That's a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
But it's now happened a couple times. The Trout debate with Cabrera, and going all the way back when it was a different kind of debate, but when Ted Williams hit 406 the year with DiMaggio in 1941, you think, oh, guy hit 406, there he goes, he's the MVP.
Just give it to him.
And Albert hits it down the right field line, out of play.
But we talk about, Mike Trout and Albert Pujols, guys hitting from the right side. Miguel Cabrera. I mean, but by the time he's done, look at his numbers that he's going to put up hitting right-handed.
Very, very similar in my mind to Pujols in that high average guys, great hitters, a lot of doubles, RBI guys, and both can't run a lick.
They're not going to get many infield signals, is what you're saying?
They're not. Morneau's the only one left on the right side. DJ coming from afar is going to get there. That's a wonderful play by DJ LeMahieu.
And
he had to run like 40 yards.
Right, and I think back to the opening series in Milwaukee when there was a ball that dropped down the right field line because they were in this shift and they weren't used to playing in this shift. Now they have 6 weeks under their belt. Justin looks up wondering, well, where's DJ? Where is he? DJ knows how far he can go now, so he got over there to make this catch. Just from where he started, you knew Carlos wasn't going to be able to get there with Albert. You're playing deeper, so DJ catches it. There's some rattling going on. It wasn't secure into the webbing, but still soft hands.
2 outs. David Freese. Calhoun still at second, and that's fouled off. One of the things Kyle Kendrick has provided is a whole lot of strikes and a rhythm to this game that has been absent in so many games for the Rockies with their starting pitcher of late.
46 out of the 70 pitches for strikes. That keeps your defense involved. That keeps them on their toes and not on the heels. The hardest part about any defender playing against a team and a pitcher that's not working fast is that boredom or your mind wandering.
There's a strike.
Also helps the umpire get into a rhythm. If you're hitting your spots, you're going to get the extra inch or two. Tonight for Jerry Davis, both pitchers are pitching to the glove. It's not huge misses.
Ground ball, gloved by Morneau. Great play. Kendrick is there, and despite the leadoff double by Calhoun, he is left stranded. Good pitching by Kendrick, good defense as well, as we go to the 6th inning in a 2-2 ball game. Are you driving to the car you love? Nolan Arenado in San Diego a little more than a week ago hit a pair of home runs And most of Nolan's home runs have come out on the road this year. He's got 6 home runs, 5 away from Coors Field. Last year he hit all but 2 at Coors Field. 3, 4, and 5 in the Rockies order. Arenado has 70 family members at Angel Stadium tonight, including his high school baseball coach. Cargo takes a strike. He's 0 for 2. 325 lifetime hitter against Angels pitching. 1-1. What are you talking about? You know, umpire getting in a rhythm. The umpire obviously is aware of where the catcher sets up. So if you hit the catcher's target, more likely to get a strike. When you're reaching, you know, if the catcher reaches a foot to his right or to his left, it's less likely the umpire is going to say, oh boy, that's on the plate.
And he's also not distracted by that movement as the ball's coming for the catcher to lunge or to reach for a pitch.
Breaking ball in the dirt, 2-2.
C.J. Wilson, a 5th-round pick in 2001. The Texas Rangers.
Three and 2. And according to the Ford strike zone, that caught the inside corner.
But that was a pitch that we were talking about.
It's not where the catcher set up.
Right, he had to lunge and everybody's moving. It makes the umpire flinch.
Slider strikes out Gonzalez again. 1 out. Arenado ground ball to third and a pop to second. That ball's hammered, stay fair. It is a foul ball.
So much for the Coors Field.
Well, I said it earlier, 6 of the 9 hitters in the lineup tonight have hit for a higher average out on the road. The problem with that, of course, is the Rockies are 4-9 at home.
They'll turn around once you get back home and play on a more regular basis. Well, Walt talked about it. You need to take care of your own house. I got to plug Rockies Real Time, the piece that Jenny did with Nolan, folks. If you haven't seen it, you need to make sure that you set your DVR, your Slingball, whatever it is that you record, because the special she did with Nolan and the sit down and the family, it's spectacular. That hit him.
Yes, it did on an 0-2 pitch. Arenado gets hit with a breaking ball, so he'll go to first with 1 out in front of Morneau. Nolan was one of a great number of guys that came out for early BP today and really early work. A lot of guys taking ground balls, fly balls. Here, it's going to hop up and get him on the knee.
Right on the kneecap. No matter if it hit the ground first, it's still
traveling quickly.
Stings.
Looked like a full squad spring workout this afternoon. That's a foul ball. The bat ends up, that's the farthest I've ever seen a broken bat end up. That bat's 50 feet into right field.
It was just bad wood.
Have you ever seen a broken bat go that far?
That's what Justin's going to say. It's just bad wood. It must have been broken before he swung the bat. I have not seen one go that far with the ball only go 5 feet. Okay, so the bat goes all the way in right field. The ball, I cut him short. It might have gone 10 feet.
Tied at 2 in the 6th inning. Rockies trying to turn around not only this season right now, having lost 9 in a row. That ball's in the dirt. Nolan started to go and then stopped. But also their recent trend against American League clubs. Remember, for a while the Rockies were the best club in the National League in interleague play for several years. The Mets were pretty good. They were about the only two teams that literally had even winning records against the American League in interleague play. The last 3 years, though, it's been miserable. The Rockies 14-41 against the American League. That's the worst interleague record in the game. And Morneau, after a couple of hits, goes down swinging. 2 outs in the 6th inning, and Rosario will come up.
Conversely, the Angels have been one of the better teams in interleague play.
Yeah, since the inception of interleague play in '97, they have the 3rd best winning percentage. It's all American League teams at the top of that chart. Willeen lined to short his last time. 0 for 2.
Talking to Willeen during batting practice today, and he said when he first got sent down to AAA, I mean, obviously it's a blow because you're used to playing in the big leagues, but he said I had to rethink the way I thought pitchers were pitching to me. I was still thinking that these were big league pitchers and that I'd get pitches in certain counts. He said, but when I got to AAA, that's not how they were throwing me, and so I had to really try to think along with them instead of how I'd be pitched to in the big leagues.
Well, he made a quick adjustment because he hit 343 down in AAA.
Yeah, he said the first game he had 3 or 4 strikeouts because he goes, I was thinking too much. And then after that, when he made that switch, that's when the numbers started to really go up.
2-0, it's hit in the air to Trout in center. He's got it, and Arenado's left at first base. Middle of inning number 6, the Rockies and Angels tied at 2. And the Cardinals overall, as you said, 23-9. That's crazy good. Here in Anaheim, it's 2 apiece. Eric Ibar is going to lead things off in the 6th inning against Kyle Kendrick. Ibar has 2 of the 6 hits for the Angels against Kendrick, a double and a single. Both runs for the Angels came in the 4th inning. Ibar had a 1-out single. Giovitella had a single. And Carlos Perez had a single. Matt Joyce, an RBI groundout, was sandwiched in between.
Let's see where. Ibar was looking to slap that ball past Nolan at third base. It wasn't going to be a drop down bunt where you deaden the baseball.
Turns on that and fouls it off. So a 2-strike count on Ibar. Ibar is second in tenure to Jared Weaver with the Angels. And Kendrick earns the strikeout. So for Kyle, that's his 3rd strikeout of the ball game.
It's amazing what happens when you work ahead in the count. You get defensive swings, and that was a defensive swing from Eric Ibar. For Kyle Kendrick tonight, part of his success has been first pitch strikes. He's 15 for 23.
And this is top towards short. Tulo's got it, throws out Giovitella. And the Rockies getting exactly what they needed. They need a string of good performances from their starting pitchers. Oh, look at this tweet. I should know I sent it out.
I think he likes the no school part.
Yeah, he did like the no school part.
Well, while you were having fun at Disneyland, I was home with a lot of other people. I was cutting down branches because I had trees that broke.
Yep.
Hauling it all away to the recycle.
I got the report on broken limbs in our backyard. Dougie just handed me a note saying, hope his teachers aren't watching. I'll have more explaining to do, won't I? We did send that email out.
You got the homework in advance, didn't you?
Sure. 1-1 on Joyce. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for when the admissions board at Harvard says we need to know in 6th grade why your son missed several days of school.
Doesn't happen.
Not going to happen.
No.
That's what I'm betting.
That's your point you're making. Got it.
1-2, and that's rolled foul.
So you didn't make Chris cut down any branches, or you just called somebody, correct?
I think they'll be awaiting my return. I don't understand this. That's why I have 3 boys, right?
Right.
I know one's with me, but the 2 older ones.
Well, there's a lot of down trees. That wasn't much worse than that.
1-2 again on Matt Joyce. And that is strike 3. See you later. Kyle Kendrick has retired 6 in a row. We move to the 7th inning. It's the Rockies 2 and the Angels 2. The best Kendrick has pitched since opening day in Milwaukee. Sports is brought to you by Buick. 5 expectation-shattering models. Experience the new Buick during the Buick Spring Sales event. And by the Colorado Lottery. Expect the unexpected. Well, it's been a pitcher's duel. The Rockies and Angels tied at 2. We go to the 7th inning. C.J. Wilson has allowed 2 runs on 4 hits. And Kyle Kendrick has matched him 2 runs on 6 hits. The Rockies will have Dickerson, who has an RBI double, leading things off. And then Nick Hundley and DJ LeMahieu. Wilson begins the inning at 90 pitches, which makes it likely this will be his final inning of work. Kendrick, 82 pitches through 6 innings. And this is sliced foul off the end of the bat.
And the high for C.J. Wilson in pitches thrown on the season is 108.
Wilson 17-7 in 2013. That was his best season. That's up and in. Last year he was 13-10 with a 4.51, which was the highest ERA he's ever had as a starter.
A lot more walks last year.
Walks are way down this year. Just 10 coming into tonight. And another shattered bat. This could be a problem, though. Barehanded Giovitella, and it's not held by Kraus, who's a converted outfielder.
There were so many things going around this infield. You had the broken bat. Half of it stays at home plate. The other half goes out by the pitcher, C.J. Wilson, as he tries to kick the baseball to stop it. That doesn't work. Giovitella comes over, barehands it. He throws it in the dirt. And then Kraus doesn't come up with the pick. But in any regard, you see the frustration on C.J. It's a base hit for Corey.
And in a 2-2 game, the Rockies have the leadoff man on. Nick Hundley is at the plate. Nick, a base hit and a strikeout. That misses. Now, Nick's been terrific so far. Been bragging on what he's done defensively. But how about the batting average? Nobody has a higher batting average who is a everyday backstop than Nick Hundley. Stephen Vogt, Oakland at 340. A.J. Przinsky on his 9th life in baseball, as we said the other day.
Yeah, but when you can still hit, you'll get a 9th life. I think this is a good pitch. If you want to do something, start a runner and have a hit and run.
Well, the combination of the Angels pitchers and Chris Iannetta, who is very good defensively, was not throwing out a lot of base runners. Carlos Perez is 3 of 4 since he came aboard. And you got Wilson on the left side. There goes the runner, and this ball is driven pretty well to center field, but it's going to die in the marine air. And Trout makes the catch, and Dickerson returns. So you called it.
Just when you're scuffling to score runs, it's 2-2. Why not in the 7th? Because you don't have to worry about the pitcher hitting right now. You still have a position player.
The day after every Rockies victory, get 50% off your online order at Papa John's. The promo code is ROXWIN at papajohns.com. LeMahieu a walk and a ground ball to third.
The right-hander Mike Warren warming up for the Angels in their bullpen. Different setup in Anaheim with the bullpens, the way they're constructed, with one right in front of the other. Angels, the team furthest away.
They have the higher view. They're tiered. This is on the ground to short. And a high throw by Giavotella. That should have been a double play from the Angels' perspective. So that will allow Blackmon to hit with DJ at first.
Well, that's just a bad throw from Giavotella. Taylor May, there's nothing wrong with the throw from Ibar. Giavotella dropped his elbow and worked underneath the baseball. Make him pay.
Here's another situation. You always talk about running situations. First pitch.
First or second.
There he goes, first pitch, and he's picked off, and he's caught stealing. And the thought there from a managerial standpoint is if he gets thrown out as he did, you're starting off the next inning with your leadoff man. If he's able to swipe the bag, maybe you steal a 2-out run. 2-2 affair. As we go to the bottom of the 7th inning, Kyle Kendrick has pitched well. C.J. Wilson has pitched well. Hundley has a 13-game hitting streak. Morneau a single and a double. Tulowitzki a sac fly, his first May RBI. Kendrick still out there as we begin the 7th inning. Carlos Perez, Mark Krause, and then the top of the order, Cole Calhoun.
As we head to the bottom of the 7th inning, it's only the 5th time this season that a Rocky starter has gone 6 or more and allowed 2 or fewer runs. The last guy to do it was Jordan Lyles against the Padres on April 23rd.
Kendrick hops off the mound and makes a terrific throw sidearm to get Perez. You don't expect a catcher to try to bunt his way on. Nice job by Kendrick hopping off the hill.
And that was the only option because Nolan was back. Kendrick loads up on the right leg as he's fielding this ball. That helps to drive, much like a pitcher when he's thrown off the rubber, how he loads up on his back leg before he delivers the ball home. That's what he did on that bunt to get so much on the throw to first.
Mark Krause at the plate. Scott Oberg and Christian Friedrich warming up for the Rockies, and a breaking ball for a strike. Krause called up today and right in the lineup at first base inside. Couple home runs, 17 RBIs. Down in AAA. Don Baylor was saying he goes the other way really well. That's strike 3. He's going to have to go the other way toward the Angels dugout right now. 2 outs. 5 strikeouts for Kendrick.
Kyle has had movement on his baseball tonight. Starts it inside, moves it back over the plate. Just locked up Mark Krause.
Great hip side 2-seamer. Calhoun single and a double in 3 at bats. He pulled a double to the right field corner, leading off the 5th inning. And then Kendrick probably did his best job of the night because he got Trout, Pujols, and Freese in succession. This ball to the gap in right center, and this looks like it'll be a 2-out double for Calhoun. So he's been the one guy Kendrick has not figured out. And that will allow Trout to hit here in the 7th.
Or will it? Do you put him on to
at
first and second?
Put him on, you got to face Pujols.
Well, I get that, but you also set up a force play. But first things first for Cole Calhoun. He drives the ball to right center field. His last double was down the line.
Walt Weiss is walking out right now, and he's walking out with tempo. This, to me, does not necessarily mean he's taking the baseball. It may, but he may be asking Kendrick, look him in the eye, one of those deals. We see Bud Black do that quite a bit and then return to the dugout without making a move. We've seen Walt do it in the past, not many times this year. And that's exactly what it was. Walt's departing, and Kyle Kendrick still has the baseball.
And who do you feel comfortable pitching against?
And that's part of it, yep. And I'm sure that had to be part of that conversation.
Do you like your matchup with Trout? Pujols is 5 for 12 with the home run off of Kendrick. He says, okay, I'm going to go after Trout.
Trout 0 for 2 and was hit by a pitch tonight. And a high fly ball right at Carr going right. So Kendrick goes after Trout and he gets him. And Calhoun left at second. We remain tied as we go to the 8th.
Back here in Anaheim, and I am down the left field line with a lot of his family. This is his dad, Fernando. This is his aunt, Mercedes. So how many people are here?
There's at least, from our family and friends, at least about 100 people.
And you're spread all over the park, right?
We're all over. We're by third base. We're by right field, first base. We're just all here to support him.
So look around this section and tell me a few of the people, important people that are here for Nolan.
Well, in the white jacket down here to the left is Abuela Marta. That's Nolan's abuela, grandmother. Next to her is his aunt Blanquita. Next to Blanquita is Tony, a cousin. Next to Tony is the Uncle Tony, one of the oldest of the family. My daughters and my friends and family, my best friend Estrella, and just friends from Millie from high school, and just lots of family and friends.
Fernando, how long did it take to put all this together, and were you involved?
You know, I try not to get involved too much with this stuff. It's too many people. But my aunt, Yvette, who's over there in the corner, she's the one that pretty much put it together and coordinated. She took care of everything and bought all the group tickets and everything else.
This one's tapped. Let's see if too low. It's foul ball. Hey, you said that you used to come to this park as a kid.
I did. I used to come. We had a good friend named Carlos Vegas. His dad was a doctor and used to have season tickets right behind the home plate. And back then, there was hardly anybody come to the games. And it was I got to catch a Rusty Staub baseball here one time.
But how neat is it that your son is here and you could potentially catch a Nolan Arenado foul ball?
That would be amazing. It is amazing that he's here, and it's just such a blessing. And we have so many people from Little League here that came to watch him. It's just... there's hundreds of people that came to support him, which is pretty cool.
You have to tell me if this is true. He said that he came to Game 5 of the ALCS in 2002. You didn't come. He came with his mom and his brothers.
That's right.
And he saw Adam Kennedy hit 3 home runs. Where were you that night?
I gave up my tickets to them because I came the night before, and they were upset that I got to come. And I go, all right, you know what? You can have those 4 tickets that somebody gave me. And all 3 of them were there, and Adam Kennedy hits 3 bombs out of here. It was amazing.
You confirmed it for me. Mercedes, this is awesome for your family.
It is awesome. We're so blessed, and we support him with the good and the bad. We've supported him ever since he was a little boy. We knew he had an amazing talent, and we knew he was special in every way. He's not only an amazing ball player, but he's a good person, and he's a good nephew.
I'm going to get it back to the guys so you can watch and enjoy. Hopefully the Rockies come back, and maybe Nolan does his thing.
And then we're going to do hashtag Let's Go.
Drew, Jeff, this is a lot of fun.
I like it. You know what, Nolan, we've gotten to know him pretty well the last few years. He is a great kid, and that is beside the fact that he happens to be a great player. And as you alluded to earlier, Jenny did a wonderful piece. He comes from a superb family, and you got a glimpse of it right there.
Right, and I had chance to talk to Millie and Fernando down in San Diego on our last road trip, and I know where Nolan gets the type of person he is. He gets it from the 2 of them and the rest of the family.
Yeah, he's a humble kid. He's always upbeat
and a hard worker.
And he is a hard worker.
At the end of the day, that's what. Yeah, he has the talent, but he worked hard at what he does to get better each and every day.
And this guy at the plate has helped him as a pro big time, and Troy Tulowitzki, on and off the field, work ethic and training. 2-2. Yeah, Troy went. That's 6 strikeouts for C.J. Wilson. Cargo will come up, 2 outs, nobody on. Who wants tacos? Fans follow @RootSports_RM on Twitter to receive alerts for the Rockies Taco Special when the Rockies score 7 or more runs. Cargo has had a rough go of it with C.J. Wilson. 2 strikeouts and a broken bat roller up the middle. It was gloved by the shortstop, Ibar.
The pitch he has not picked up tonight has been the slider.
And see, that's a perfect illustration when you're not going well. We talk about this. The hittable pitches aren't put in play. So it's 0-1 instead of that ball being, hit hard, hopefully for a hit.
It's every hitter that's struggling. You'll foul off pitches that you should hit, your timing's off, or you'll take one that was a good pitch to hit. Just feel like you look up at the scoreboard, you're sitting 0-1, 0-2 every at bat, or 1-2. It doesn't matter.
Slider count, and it's popped up on 0-2. Ibar into shallow left field's got it, and C.J. Wilson works a 1-2-3 eighth inning. So it's the Rockies 2 and the Angels 2. Locked in on that score for a while now. Danger brought to you by T-Mobile. Well, the Rockies in desperate need of quality starts, high-end starts. Kyle Kendrick has provided the Rockies with that tonight. 7 innings of 2-run baseball. He did not walk a batter, gave up 7 hits, 5 strikeouts. And Kyle Kendrick putting the Rockies in a good position. It's a 2-2 ball game, and he'll give way in the 8th inning to Rafael Betancourt. 95 pitches for Kendrick, and if you're wondering, well, pitching as he did, why isn't he out there for the 8th? Albert Pujols, so he's 0 for 3 tonight, historically has hit the ball very well against Kendrick, and you have a really well-rested bullpen. And so why not hand it off to Rafael Betancourt? He'll face Pujols, Freese, and Ibar here in the 8th inning.
Pujols was 5 for 12 with the home run off of Kyle Kendrick, and that would have been the 4th time he's seen him tonight. So you go to Rafael, who hasn't pitched since the 2nd game of the doubleheader against Arizona on Wednesday. He's ready to go.
So here we go, Betancourt and Pujols, and that's outside ball 1. Crowd of 28,150 tonight at Angels Stadium. Got to figure C.J. Wilson is done also. He's thrown 111 pitches. Sharply hit through the left side past the diving Tulowitzki. So Pujols a leadoff single in the 8th inning.
Dollar Hot Dogs are back for the 2015 season, and the first 10,000 fans on Tuesday, May 19th, will receive a coupon for a Dollar Hot Dog. Get your tickets now as the Philadelphia Phillies make their first trek into Denver.
Freese a strikeout and 2 groundouts. Interesting alignment. Tulowitzki's in the hole. About 4 or 5 steps off the line, Nolan Arenado, and DJ is Only about a stride or two to the right of the second base bag.
Still close enough to turn double play. Freese hits it on the ground.
Freese, an all-star a couple of years ago with the Cardinals. Fouled off.
For David Freese, he has 5 home runs. 2 of them have come to center field, 2 of them to right field. So he has power the opposite way. You think late in the ball game you want to pitch a guy away, but sometimes that's pitching into somebody's strength.
Good block by Hundley.
Especially where that ball bounced in front of home plate.
Freese in 2012, 293 batting average with the Cardinals, hit 20 home runs. That's his career best. Last year, he had 10 home runs and batted .260 with the Angels. He was traded for Peter Borges a couple years ago. Fleet center fielder, son of a longtime major league scout.
Chris Borges.
Albert got a huge jump, and he's going to steal second. And that's his first stolen base of the year, the 99th of Albert Pujols' career. You know, when you look at all the stats for Pujols, the home runs, the doubles, the batting average, the slugging percentage, people are going to be surprised that this 240-pound man, they say, wait a second, he had triple digits in stolen bases?
And he's had plantar fasciitis surgery because he missed part of the 2013 season with the bad foot. But he was 7 or 8 strides into that stolen base. He almost shut it down. He thought he was going to get caught.
His career best, 16. He's done that twice, 2005, 2009. And he ain't, as Jeff points out, he's not doing it with foot speed. He's doing it with savvy. Understanding, you know, is he a one-look guy? One and go?
Studying the game.
Yes.
Studying pitchers, not only the starter, but the bullpen. You know, how do they react when they come into a game?
Now Betancourt really has to bear down. Double play, at least a conventional one, no longer an option. Nobody out, and a strikeout of Freese. That's huge.
More and more we're seeing Raffy. You know, he'll show you the split finger because he has confidence in it. But this was the four-seam fastball that he just blew by David Freese.
Eric Ibar, double and a single and a strikeout. And with that infield on the right side so deep, and you have a 40-year-old on the mound, you have to be concerned with a bunt. The moment I said that, Ibar had already squared around.
But this is the hitters. You've said it twice tonight that he's not the prototypical number 5 hole hitter, but these are the ones that scare you. He's a switch hitter. He can slap the ball the other way. Doesn't strike out very much. They put the ball in play.
And with a guy like Ibar, just because he's now behind 0-1, that does not eliminate the bunt from his game.
No, he's done that his whole career. let's hope this trend continues tonight. The Angels are 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position.
2 runs, 8 hits for the Angels. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Rockies. First of a 6-game road trip out here in the greater Los Angeles area, Orange County, and then on to LA to take on the Dodgers for 4. 1-1. Speaking of the Dodgers, they're playing the Marlins tonight, and last night as well. Tonight, one Giancarlo Stanton, the $300+ million man, hit a ball completely out of Dodger Stadium.
Was it Matt Holliday that
he hit
the facade, or
he hit the behind the bullpen? He hit a palm tree.
That's what it was.
2-1. Giancarlo hit one over the stands in the outfield. Is that any good?
We've seen him hit a few of those. Houston Street. He's getting loose.
I should note that's the only good news for Miami tonight because they're down 11-1. Bar stays off that. It's a 3-1 count. We have Johnny Giavotella on deck. Another guy not normally seen in the middle of an order, especially in American League ball club.
Oh, again, these two guys are bottom of the order or top, 1 and 2. Not in RBIs.
Raffy steps off the bat. No, it misses. It's kind of weird. Guy Barker was standing there at the plate. Looks like he was seeing something from Nick Conley or Jerry Davis. First and second. Steve Foster's going to go out. 1 out, and Giavotella is coming up. That's the first walk issued by Rockies pitcher tonight. Of course, Betancourt walks guys about once a month.
And that's just Raffy's second walk this season.
One other note on that home run. Stanton now has, since the start of last year, has 6 home runs that have traveled at least 460 feet. And the guy in the game tonight, Mike Trout, since he started playing, has more 425-foot home runs plus than anybody in baseball. Those stats for the connoisseur of home runs.
Giancarlo can hit them a long, long way.
Hits them like golf balls.
They look about as small when they're heading out, too, as a golf ball.
Yep. See if Rafael can get a ground ball here. Inside ball 1.
The last 2 pitches from Raffy have caught the 4 strike zone, but both of them have been called balls. That first one to Giavotella and the last one to Eric Ibar.
Johnny Giavotella, not a big name, but he's produced some big hits late in ball games for the Angels. One ball, 1 strike. And that ball lined to right. Cargo's not going to be able to get there. Pujols around third. He got a good jump, and he's going to score. And the Angels take a 3-2 lead. And it's Johnny Giavotella coming through again for the Angels. That's the 4th time this year He has provided the Angels with an RBI in what is termed close and late situations, and it can't be any closer than 2-2 before the swing.
And savvy base running from Albert Pujols, because he didn't wait around to see if Carlos is going to catch this. He took off when that ball was hit to right field. Ball up in the zone. Giovatelli works on top of it, gets the hands up high enough so he can stay on a more level plane to hit the line drive. With the one hop and the strong throw from Carlos offline, but Albert had took off immediately as soon as that ball was swung and put into play.
Now, at first brush, you may say, well, that stolen base wasn't a big thing. I think it was a big thing because Betancourt pitches slightly differently, perhaps to Ibar, with a man at first as opposed to a man at second.
Yes, with the man at second, and it talked about his ability to just put the ball in play. So you're going to be more careful. You're thinking a young kid right on right coming up after him. But if he's at first, you say, okay, let him hit the ball on the ground. We'll try to turn the double play. You don't have that option with Pujols at second.
And now the threat of a stolen base, first and third situation. Matt Joyce 0 for 3, did have an RBI on a ground out in the fourth inning. 3-2 Angels.
And now you just try to limit it to the one run. Don't allow him to tack on a second.
Runner going. This is line to center field. And Giovatelli, who is running, is going to get a green light. And he's going to score. Turns into a two-run double for Matt Joyce. And the Angels now have a 5-2 eighth inning lead. Joyce is going to come out.
See where this is ball that's down and away from Joyce, but with the runner running, he's just trying to put it in play. Cuts down his swing for a ball, and then with Giovatelli running hard, and third base coach Gary DiSarcina just waving, scoring the extra run.
And they give him a straight double. Colin Cowgill, the former Arizona Diamondback, has come in for Joyce to run.
And also a better defender for next half inning.
Pujols that leadoff single. Betancourt able to strike out Freeze. Then an Ibar walk. Single, double, and all of a sudden a 2-2 game becomes 5-2 in favor of the home team, the Angels. Two on Perez, RBI single in the fourth. Rockies led this game 2-0.
Matt Joyce with the big double to extend the lead 5-2, and a guy that had been slumping.
He was 6 for his previous 68 prior to that double.
Morin is up in the Astros pen along with Houston Street. Angels. I say the Astros, Angels.
Yeah, Astros were here for 4 days, just left town. That's strike 3.
Well, fans, the rooftop is a place to be during baseball season. Arrive early for pregame festivities and beer specials before first pitch. Now with the big left-hander Mark Krause go to the bullpen and bring in Ken Roberts.
So it was a rough ride for Betancourt tonight. 2 outs in the 8th. The Angels are now up 5-2. Ken Roberts will face him. Time for the CenturyLink link to what's next. The Rockies and Angels tomorrow night. Jordan Lyles will make his 7th start of the year. And Hector Santiago, maybe a name you're not familiar with, but he's pitched very good baseball for Mike Scioscia so far this year. The league hitting just .208 against the left-hander. So this will be the 4th appearance for Roberts. Lefties without a hit so far against Kent.
Inning pitched in the game against the Dodgers on Sunday. A 1 strikeout. Everything else was zeros across the board. I'll go to C.J. Cron, the right-hander. First pinch hit appearance for CJ this season.
And Cron takes that down low. It's 1-1. Ball's well hit to center field, and Blackman will get back to the warning track and make the catch. That ends the inning, but the Angels score 3 times on 3 hits and a walk. They break the 2-2 tie. They'll go to the 9th inning. They'll hand it to Houston Street up 5-2. Now at Southwest.com. By GMC, Precision Matters. And by the Lodge Casino, it's not only your first choice for winning, it's also your first choice for fun. Rockies not having a lot of fun the last couple of weeks, and they find themselves down by 3 runs with 3 outs to go. Top of the 9th inning. Let's check in back in Denver with Jenny. All right, Jenny, we appreciate it. Sully, thank you. Well, the former Rocky Houston Street is now on the hill for the Angels. And Houston, whether it was in Oakland, whether it was in Colorado, San Diego, or now north of San Diego and Anaheim, has been very good at applying his craft. The unusual closer, I like to say.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a dominant fastball. He's a 3-pitch closer.
Which is so unusual in this day and age, where most guys are going to come out there and they're going to throw really hard, or they'll have a trick pitch like a fork ball, or throw sidearm like Kent Colby type, but not Houston Street. 93% of the times he's saved a ball game since 2012. He's got 10 saves on the season, 10 to 12. That 10 ranks 4th in the American League.
And Houston, a little bit unusual also for a closer. He will go out of the windup. Houston making his 17th appearance against the Rockies all time. He has 8 saves against Colorado. And Nolan takes a strike. It's 1-1 on Arenado.
Well, not only coming up with the hands and going out of the windup, but how he slides over more with the foot towards the first base side after he starts to take that windup. So does he even stay in contact with the rubber? Barely, by maybe a toenail. Now wait a second. Did he call that on a strike or a swing?
Well, the second pitch he called a strike was off the plate. Let's see this again. Is this on the swing? Yeah, it probably was.
Yeah, and that's what Jerry Davis was pointing at. He was pointing it was a swing.
And strike 3 on Arenado. One out in the 9th inning. And Street will face Justin Morneau.
Houston in his career against Colorado in 16 games. 8 for 8 saves. But he has blown 2 of his last 3 chances.
He got the save in a 3-1 victory on Sunday over Houston. Misses to Morneau. Houston's wife, Lacey. Houston and Lacey have 2 boys, a 3rd on the way. Houston was telling us before the ball game, due in August.
Look at that, 89 miles an hour. But it's about the location.
I always say that. It's like real estate, man. If you can locate, especially with movement, Street has good movement on all his pitches. There's the changeup. Houston, a product of the University of Texas, like his great late dad, James Street. He was a great football, baseball player at UT. And Houston and Lacey and their family continue to make their home in the Austin area. 2-2. That's a high fly ball to right center field. Trout closing, and that is the second out.
Houston just adding and subtracting. Adding some on the fastball, then he'll throw the changeup, he'll throw a slider. Just enough to take you off balance as a hitter.
Willeen, the DH tonight, 0 for 3. Rockies have been limited to 5 hits. Tonight, the 29th game, and the Rockies still have scored 7 runs or more in a game just twice. Had you told me that before the season started, I would have said there's no way, unless you had a truckload of injuries. And fortunately, and even then,
we've played 13 games at home.
Frustrating times, no question. See it on the face of Walt Weiss. 2 strikes on Willeen. Rockies got a run in the 3rd, another run in the 4th to take a 2-0 lead, but in the bottom of the 4th, the Angels scored twice. Rockies this year had been 8-3 when scoring first in a game. Kyle Kendrick gave them a real good start. 7 innings of 2-run baseball.
0 walks, 5 strikeouts for Kyle.
Because Street does not throw hard, that's never been a huge part of his game. It's allowed him to have great longevity. 2-2. And a strikeout will end it. A 1-2-3 9th inning for Houston. Street, his 11th save of the year. The Angels win at 5-2. C.J. Wilson is now 2-2. Rafael Betancourt takes the loss. He is 0-1. And the Rockies have lost 10 consecutive games for the first time since 2005. And it's tied for the 3rd longest losing streak in franchise history. 2000, they lost 11 in a row, and back in their inaugural season in midsummer, they lost 13 straight. Our Jimmy John's delivery of the game, Johnny Giovitella with a game-winning RBI single. It's the 4th time this year he has been the difference for the Angels late in the baseball game. That scored Albert Pujols, who had singled and stolen second. And Jimmy John's delivery of the game. The Angels go on to win it 5-2. They're now 21-8 all time against the Rockies. Let's get it to our Denver studios. Here's Jenny Cavnar and Corey Sullivan. Jenny?